Welcome everyone to today's video. In today's video, what we are going to be having a look at is converting 2D patterns and wrapping them up into a 3D object, or you can even get a 3D object and then you have to unfold each one of the sides of that object or each of the faces of that object to get the flat pattern. So this is what is going to be the task for today, or today's questions as we have. So let me quickly go ahead and pull it up by starting to share my screen. Okay, so in that case we can proceed. So if you see here what is given to you, you're given this sort of 2D shape and they are telling you that this has to be now, or this has to now be folded into a 3D object. So immediately we see that it has sort of a square base over here in the middle, because all of these lines which they have highlighted are going to be the bending lines. So that is where you have to place a bend and fold. The bend does not specify the angle of the bend, so that is up for your mind to sort of calculate by itself. So this bend can be maybe 20 degrees, it can be straight like 90 degrees, or it might be even more than 90. That is up to you. They are just telling you that if there is a dashed line, that means that there is a bend over there. So looking at this, immediately we need to first check out which one of these matches this. So we see that we have equal size of, side flaps, we can call it for now, and that means that we need a base first. This looks like a base. This one looks more rectangular, which means it can't be this one. This one has top and bottom again, so it can't be this one. This one also has additional geometry over here, but we have just 4 flaps, so it's going to be option C, because this one is number flap 1, number flap, or flap number 2, and then 3 and 4 is at the back. 1 second, someone wants to join. Looks like okay, everyone is in. Okay, so now that we have that, we can move on to the questions and then we can explain out each one of them. So these are the questions right here. So first one, we have this as your view, and each one of these dashed lines, as I mentioned before, is a bend. But the thing is, they are not specifying the angle of the bend. That is up for you to decide. So first things first, if I look at this, I see that we have most of them all straight edges, which means that I cannot have this, because if this is there, the side flaps would have had a sloping sort of cut over here, or a taper almost is what you can call it. At the same time, it's not all equal in size, so it cannot be this cube as well. And it cannot be this again, because there is no sloping side pieces. All the side pieces are exactly squared edges. So it has to be option B. Another way of solving this is you can manually imagine this sort of rectangle in your mind, the starting base rectangle, and then in your mind sort of think about opening a flap over here, opening up a flap over here, opening up a flap over here, and correlate that to this. So we see that this flap will be this one, this large flap will be this one, and the flap which is on the other side where my mouse is, but you can't see, like, from here, that is this one. Then this is the front one, but the back one is going to be this. The one which is over here, that is going to be this, and this top one is this one. So that is how is another method that you can sort of use to solve if needed. So now we're going to go with question number 2, and it's time for you guys to go ahead and solve it. So you can use the method number 1, where you're just going to be looking at each one of these sort of shapes and the bend lines and having a look if any of these shapes are even there in this or not. Because whatever side you see over here, or whatever side face, or however you want to call it, surface you see over here should be there over here exactly. So if this has an extra sort of slope or doesn't have a slope, all of that will mean that that specific option has to be discarded. I think we just got a message. Oh, someone wants to join. Yeah. So mostly guys, I won't be able to check the chat because the PDF will be open. So you can unmute and speak your answer. 1 second, someone wants to join. Okay, now everyone is in. So let's have a look at this one. Immediately option D, we see the side profile is not correct because we have the proportions are completely wrong. This is much more longer. If you see this shape over here, this and this should have matched exactly. So this and this should have matched. At the same time, if you look at this one, you can see it's becoming narrow and narrow on both sides. But here I have all square pieces or all rectangular pieces with 90 degrees. Admit. So that is why option D also has to be discarded. Next we have option C. Again, if you see this side profile, it does not look like this at all. This small back again to straight is not there, and here also it starts differently. So this is again completely going to be discarded. Next we have option B and option A. So now if you look at option B and option A, they look almost the same. The only difference between them is the proportions. So here if you see, it is clearly showing that this cannot be a small cube type of shape. It has to be a long rectangle. So out of B and A, which is a rectangle, it is A. B looks more like a cube compared to what is given over here. We have a longer length, which is option A. So option A is correct. We move on to the next one. Question number 3.
Option D.
Okay, so we have all option D, which is going to be correct as well. So let us go ahead and discuss. So if we see this one, we see that this face which you're looking at is not straight. You can see it's showing as if it's a slight slanting. It's more than 90. It's almost like, leaning into the model. So because of that, this is not going to remain a rectangle. You can see this line is becoming shorter over here. So therefore, these are all straight side pieces, which means option A has to be discarded. Coming to option B, we see that it has very small side pieces. Here, the side pieces have to be pretty almost half of the whatever size of this, not very small this way. So option B also is discarded due to proportions. Next, we come to this one. Again, if you see, the top is becoming narrow because it's taper over here. But here all of them are square or rectangular in shape, means the edges are all 90 degree, but here it's going inward and becoming smaller. So it has a slope which is not shown in the figure. So this is also discarded. So finally we have option D, which you guys have guessed correctly. So let's proceed to the next ones, and they'll get more and more complex as we go. Okay, so immediately on this one, the first test only that is giving out the correct answer is this test of the side pieces. Because here if you see this slope over here there's no slope, which means B has to be discarded. D, look at the proportions. It's too fat compared to this. It has to be nice and even. But here you have this has more thickness and here less thickness. So uneven. So D also is eliminated. Next, if you come to option C, we come to see that the proportions are way off. It's a very small thing, and then this is too long compared to this. If you see, this looks extra long, so it can't be this as well. So only option left is option A, and if we see, this profile is matching this exactly. And after that we have the base. Front side we have this small cover over here, and then this is going to be this face, and on the other side we'll have this as this back face, and then these two will be this top and this sort of standing face over here. So option A matches this, so that's correct. We move on to the next one, which is question number 5.
B. Option B.
Okay, perfect. So this time what they're telling you is, they're telling you over here, if I zoom in, that there is a bend over here and there's a bend over here, but they're not telling you the angle, because if you see, this piece has to be circularly sort of folded or set in place. So we have this sort of large leaf structure, not visible in A, so A is discarded. Same thing, not visible in C, C is discarded. this shape and this shape are not matching. We see this top part and bottom part are sharp, so D also is discarded. Only option left is option B. So that's the correct answer. So just with this one test of this thing, we can simply discard and throw out all of the options that do not obey this shape, and that leaves us with the final answer. So that's much faster. Okay, so now we move on to question number 6.
Option B.
Let's wait for another answer.
Option B.
Here
Okay.
both the option A and B are same. No?
Yeah, so I'll explain the slight difference. So option D, immediately we can see there's an additional shape added. So almost 2 solid bodies are sitting over here. Here we have only one sort of object being flattened out. So this is immediately discarded. Option C is discarded because here if you see uneven sort of flatness over here. We need it to be flat, but here it is uneven. So that is also not shown here. If you see, the sides are even, and then after that also all are even in shape and size. So let me just add this in. Also guys, we have Jay joining in, who has cracked IMS Goa written exam 2 times. So he'll be guiding us through the entire process and what topics to study, etc. Great. So C also is discarded because not proportional. Here you see it's flat, here it is sharp, but that is not shown over here. Now coming to option A and option B, they look almost the same, but look at this side profile. So if this is the base, side profile is this one. Here I have a perfect rectangle shown, but look at this. Here this back part looks okay, but look at this line, it is sloping. So do I see any slope in this figure is the question. I see no shape, no slope, completely straight and 90-degree angles everywhere. So that's why A is eliminated. Is that understood? The slight difference between A and B is you have to look at the side piece. Here all are nice and 90-degree angles. Here all are okay at the back, but at the front we have a slope, and that is seen on this face over here, which you have to compare to this face, because this is the base and to the right side of the base. So that's the base. To the right side is going to be this one. Okay, so now we move to question number 7.
Option D.
Okay, we have one person saying D.
B.
So we have D and B. Okay.
B.
So immediately when we look at this, we need to ask ourselves which one of these shapes follow this side profile. But here the problem is the side profile is slightly inverted. So you have to imagine this with the mirror image. So here option A, if we go to see why we discard it, is because this front part does not have these 2 small sort of rectangles over here. This should have been shown over here, but it is completely flat. So that is why we have to discard option A. Option C, if we see, we don't have this front slope over here, which is what is seen in this. So if I have my base, then I have this back part, then I have this small gap, and then I have a large piece, but here it is being cut because it goes down. That same piece goes down into this area. It is not a large rectangle shape piece. This piece is like a T shape. If you see here, this and down, there's no line over here. There is no dividing line. So this piece becomes a T-shaped piece, but here it is saying after this small gap, it has to be a rectangle shape. So that is seen only over here, the rectangle shape, and the rectangle shape is seen over here also. So after that is done, then we have to now compare the sides. So if you look at the sides, we see that this option is most similar to this option. So that is the reason why we have to select this compared to this one. Because look at it, this here, the front things are huge compared to the size of the entire figure, and the height also is not proper compared to this, which is why we have to go with B, which is more similar. So this bottom part right here is going to be this part, and then this is this same part, but it is what do you call this, flipped up. So that's option C. I mean, not option C, option B, and the 7th question. So we have discarded the others because of individual factors like missing this over here. Then over here, it is saying it has to be a square piece, but here this will be a T shape because it's going down without a dividing line over here. But look at this. After this, it is a complete square with the dividing line. So that is important in this part to identify this dividing line on this. And after that is the small piece which completes the entire figure. So that is the entire thing. Let's go to question number 8.
D.
Okay, let's wait for one more answer.
D.
Okay. Let's go ahead and discuss this. So if you see in this, now there are not all of them are not 90-degree cuts. We have some slopes. If I see here, there is a slight slope over here. Here also there are some slopes. But A on the side parts is showing that it is completely straight and sort of, no taper at all on the sides. But sides is showing over here taper, which is why we have to discard A. Let me just add this person in. Admit. Okay. So because of that, we have to discard A. Next thing is also, let's go to B. We see an unproportional shape over here at B. Look at this. One side is huge and one side is small triangle piece. But here if we see this image, it looks symmetric. One side is not large, one side is not small. So because of that, B has to be discarded because the size is not proportional. One side is huge, look at this piece, and this piece is small where my mouse is right now. So this is not the same size, but here it is shown all of the pieces are same size, so we can immediately discard B. Next we move on to option C. So with option C and option D, which are left with us, the main difference is going to be this piece over here, this small straight piece over here. But option C does not have that small straight piece. So let us go ahead and track this. Where is this going to take place? So this is the base for both. After that, we have this piece which is becoming narrow. You see, that is this piece over here. After this is showing it requires a rectangle piece. So it's saying base followed by this tapering piece followed by a rectangle piece. So let us see option C if that is the case. Base is there. Then we have this piece, but there is no rectangle. It is directly going to this flat part. But option D is going base followed by this small taper piece, and then there's a rectangle over here which is seen. So that is why we can discard option C, because this taper piece is missing over here. I mean, not the taper piece. After the taper piece, this rectangle piece is missing. So that is why D is the correct answer which you guys got. Let's go to the question number 9.
Option B.
Option B. Okay. I think 2 people have said that, so we can go with the discussion. So immediately we see this shape. We have this as the base. Then we have this as the back plate. and then these two shapes are going to be your top, because you have the base followed by the back, and then comes a top when you fold this 90 90 90, as you see over here. So if we have the top with, see that these don't have a sharp point, they have a cutoff. So what do we see here? We see sharp points, which means it's not going to match this. So this option A immediately gets discarded. Same thing with option C. We see that it is not a sharp point, but it is not straight. It should have a slight slope over here. Option C, the top is completely straight on both sides. So option C also is instantly discarded. Now the difference between option B and D, which are left, is mainly this body inside over here, which is there. So if we see this shape over here, this is saying that we have the base, and then this figure, this small part over here, is attached to the base only, which means that wherever the base is there, that is where this front part has to get connected. And this is saying that the base and these side parts are all in the same level. That is why, because if I fold the side parts in, this is going to become the base. So all of this has to be on the same level. But here, if you see, the base has been raised up and these are kept down. But here the base and that is all almost in the same level. So that's why we have to go with this one, because we have the base followed by this, which are going to be folding from the sides. And this also has to be at the same level as the base. But here it is raised up. So that wouldn't work out. So that's why we have to go with option B. You guys said B, right? Or D?
D.
D for dog?
No, B for
Okay.
ball.
B for ball. Correct. Yeah. So option B is the correct answer because of that. Let's move to question number 10.
Option A.
Okay, we have one person saying A.
Option A.
So two people have said A. Let's go ahead and discuss. So first things first is, we see that we need a small square. Where do we see a small square in option A is the question. Do we see this small square that we need in option A? We see only large faces, but no small square. So option A has to be discarded because this small square is not there only.
Yeah, correct.
Where is this small square over here at the top over here? So now we just need to compare this bottom part. Is it sharp edges like this? No, it is with slight smoothness. This sort of, I think this is an octagon shape. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, octagonal shape. So that is not seen over here. Here, if you see the sharp 90-degree edges are there. So B also has to be discarded. Next, if we see, after we see have the small square, there is no more division after that. It has to be single lines after that, completely flat and without any more division. So small square, and then the next face has to be complete. But if I see option D, the small square is there and then there's a division. So it comes straight and then there's a division for the rest of the part. Then there's a division and then the rest of the part. But here there is no division shown. It is shown straight and completely without any division, which means option C is going to be the answer, because small square is there. These pieces which are there, they do not have any dividing line in the middle, and the bottom is also octagonal, as we see over here. It is nice and smooth, not 90 degrees like option B. So because of that, option A is discarded, no small square. Option B is discarded, all this 90-degree stuff at the bottom is not shown over here. And option D is discarded because after the small square, I need to have a complete piece or a complete face without any division in the middle. No division is shown over here, but here we see a division on both of these. So option D also gets discarded. Correct answer left is going to be option C. Is that understood?
Yes, bro.
Okay, then we can move on
Yes.
to question number 11. So now, as we have crossed the first 10, they are starting to get a little bit more complex. So I'll give you a little bit more time as well to solve it.
D.
Okay, we have one answer.
Option C. Option C.
Okay, so we got one A, one C, and one D. Let's wait for another 15 seconds if everyone else is still catching up.
Option
Okay, so now we can discuss it. So first things first, we see option B, which is there. It does not have these small cut kind of shapes. All of the shapes are square. Everywhere it is all 90-degree angles. This cut shape is not there anywhere, so we'll have to discard option B. Next, when we come to option D, in these cases we'll have to actually fold it in our mind and check it out. So here this is saying that one side of the flap, the side flaps have to be smaller, but if you see where this is connecting, all the flaps are perfectly the same size from the sides, and the faces become smaller over here, because if this is joining over here, that means this face which of the back side is become smaller. So the back side face which is there, that is become smaller, but this is showing that the side flaps which is there, the small side flaps, those have to become smaller, as you see over here, and that is not happening over here. So option D also has to be discarded immediately. Same thing over here. If you look at this is showing over here that this is the base, and the connection has to happen from the side, not from the face. The top face has to be completely be left untouched, because this rectangle is kept as it is, and this rectangle which is the base also is kept as it is. Nothing is coming in the way of this. But if you see here, the top rectangle is become short because this connection point is come in between, and here also the back face which is there, the back complete face which is there, that also has become short because the connection is from the face. But the connection has to be from the side, because the side is where this full connection is connecting, and that is shown over here in option A. So that is why option A is correct. We can check out if the connection is from the side or whether it is from the face. You can see the difference between C, it is connecting on this face, means it is connecting from here, but A is saying it is connecting from the side. Okay, so let's go to 12.
C.
Okay, so immediately we can do a test of this small piece over here, because if you see, the side of all of them are different. Here this side is saying it's a straight sort of squarish or rectangular kind of a shape, no curves anywhere. These sort of slopes are not there anywhere. So only one slope is there, which is this slope. So only this slope is there, but apart from that, this slope is missing. Here it is all more rectangular in shape. Here we have a small triangle, but that is not shown over here. It has to be a block, and then it becomes into a slight slope. So that is why option B is discarded, because of this triangle shape over here. It has to be a block shape first and then a small slope. So compared to A and C, we see that the proportions now have to come into play, as well as this slope. This is saying that this piece which is there, this connecting piece, has to be connected to a piece with a slope over here. But A, if you see, this is straight, which is why option C is correct, because I have the slope piece, and after that I have this small piece which has a block shape first and then another slope. So is it understood why the other options are discarded? This one has this small piece which is not there. It's just a small rectangle shape. So this is discarded because of this face. This one is discarded because this block shape is not there. Only the small triangle shape is left. So this is discarded. This one is discarded because of the proportion. Plus, this has to be with a slope. this is flat. So this is also discarded. Only option left is option C, which is true because we have the slope and then we have this proper shape. 1 second, someone wants to join. Okay. So now we move on to question number 13.
Option A.
Okay. Let's wait for one more answer. Let people take their time and work on this. So again, just to recap the two methods that you can use. One method is you just check, do I see this kind of a face over here? That means I need a slope. Is there any slope in this entire figure? If there is, then we can consider this as a valid option. Now we cannot discard it. But if there's no slope, immediately we can discard this and move on to the next one. Here again, we see two objects are together. But here we see only one object has been flattened out. So that means option D also we can immediately discard because two objects are there, which means we would have two of these pieces given to us. So option D also gets discarded. Once you're left with only very few options, then you can check for proportionality, because if you look at A and C, they almost look the same, but the proportions are wrong in one of them. So that is one method. Or what you can do is you can even first check your proportion. So if you see over here, this piece, large rectangle and then a thin rectangle. This is not seen over here. There's no large rectangle and then thin rectangle, but here it is seen. Large rectangle followed by a thin rectangle. So option A is correct because it is matching this, and option C is incorrect. Once you're satisfied with option A, if you're still not confident, you can then think about the base. When I open this piece, what is it matching? Then if I look at this piece, after this piece, this is saying that half of it has to go inside, which is this piece. So imagine this piece was over here and then I fold it in, I'll get this sort of area over here, which is this piece. So it's matching. So you can first run your first test just to check, are all of the shapes which are there in this available in this. So here I have a slope. Is there a slope? No slope. Immediately discard. Here there's a double, two solids are there, but here only one is given, so I can immediately discard. Then once you get more or less similar shapes, you can check for proportionality. And once you're happy with the proportionality and you have a given answer, if you're still not sure, you can then just confirm by taking the base and checking if the side pieces are aligning, etc. So that would be the fastest way to get things done. So now we move on to question number 14.
A.
Okay.
A.
Okay, so we have two people saying A. So in this case, what can I use for my test? If I see all the shapes, this T shape at the top can be my testing thing, because the T shape is there over here. So the T shape is there here, and if you see, there is no line in between. So it's a complete T shape without any lines in between. So this same T shape has to be found in all of the models now. So let us see. Here T shape is not possible because this is becoming a peak over here. So no T shape. D has to be immediately discarded. Option B also, top is no T shape. It is becoming like a taper over here. So again has to be discarded. Option C also, if you see, it looks like a T shape, but they are not connected. Look at this. They have just one rectangle here and one rectangle here, but they are not connected. And if you see this shape over here, it has to be connected completely because there is no line in between saying anything, which means it has to be a complete T shape, which is seen only in option A without any line in between, which is why we select option A as the correct answer. So now that we have completed these shapes, we are coming into cubes. So now you'll be given only cubes, but you have to unfold this cube in your mind and then tell me what is the specific shape that you're going to get if you unfold that specific cube. So in this case, what you have to keep in mind is what is touching what. So if this is going to be my front, which means this will come over here, then this is going to be the side part. So that means wherever the sort of lightning shape comes, this square with a line is going to come clockwise from that. So you'll have to check that over here. So if I go ahead and solve the first one, you can see this is saying that we need to have the base first. So if I'm making this as the base, and if I open this one out and this one out, then I need to check, is it possible for me to get the same view? So if you see here, the sort of shaded part has to be in connection with the line of the square and in a line, but here the shaded part is touching somewhere else, so it is not going to touch. So because of that, we can discard option A. The shaded part is over here. It should have been this side, and this also should have been different because it has to match over here. If you see this over here, if you go to option B, we see that the shaded part and this part are completely disjointed. There is no possible way that they can match, because if this is over here, if this is the base, we will have this coming as the side, and this is going to be the top. So the top and the bottom of the cube can never touch each other. So that is why we see that we have to discard it, because here it is showing it has to touch, but here it is top and bottom of the cube, which is not never going to touch. Again, if we see over here, the white part of the cube of this is over here, and the black part is somewhere else. So when I fold this up, I'll not get the same cube. But if I look at this one, this black part is touching, so that's one correct thing that we can say. Plus this piece is clockwise when I go to this one, properly clockwise. If this is my center, if this is the center piece, then I can see that the lightning has to be rotated. If I go and walk in the clockwise direction, I will get this square and a line shape. So again, if this is the center, that means this becomes clockwise direction. So I have the lightning, and if I walk clockwise, I get the square and line shape. So that means option D is going to be the correct answer. So now we move on to the 16th one.
D, sir.
Okay, so we have people saying D. Let us wait for a little bit more time, like 15 seconds, so others can catch up. Okay, so we can start solving. So here, if we consider this as the base, because this looks to be the base of this entire shape. So here we see that the base has to be connected to these pieces. But if we have a look at it, when we move this up, this piece will not be the same as this, because if you see here, the part should not be touching the white side. But here it is going to be touching the white cross part over here. So immediately we can discard option A, because after this we see this is connecting exactly on the white piece, but here it is showing it should not be on the white piece, it should be on the black side where this thing should come. So this should have been somewhere over here or over here, but not on the white piece. So option A has to be discarded because of that. Next, if we see over here, this piece over here, look where this sort of spiral has to be with respect to this one. It has to be on the white. Where the white one is there, that's where the spiral has to be. But if you see here, the spiral is on the black side, so completely opposite of the image shown over here. Because when I fold this up, whatever I do, the spiral will still be touching the black side of this bottom base structure. So because of that, option C also has to be discarded, because of the spiral touching the black side. Here it has to be discarded because this thing is touching the white side. but here it is showing this has to be connected to the black side, this sort of L and kind of a shape, which is not even an L actually, just some kind of a bend shape we can call it. Here if we see, this is going to give us the first base. It's saying we have to take this as the base. Okay, and this is now saying that once we have the base, this has to be rotated, which means it's saying that this piece and this piece has to be touching. So we don't see that this flat part is touching the top of this part in any way. So that's why we have to discard this one, because this flat piece is touching this top over here directly, but here if you see, the flat piece is completely away from the spiral top. So we're only left with one more option, which is this one. And again, if you see, confirm, look at the difference here. Spiral is there, the black thing is touching the spiral. Spiral is there, black thing is away. So what do we need here? Spiral, black thing is away. So from B and D we see this is the correct option, because black thing is away from the spiral, plus spiral is touching the white piece. Spiral is touching the white piece in the question. Here if you see, spiral is touching the black piece. That is why C is discarded. Here spiral is touching the flat area over here, so this is discarded. And here the L or the branch shape thing is touching the white side. That should be touching the black side. So that is why each of the shapes are discarded. And finally we get option D as the correct answer. So now we move to question number 17.
Option B.
Okay,
B, sir.
so everyone is coming up with B. So let us have a look at this. So immediately we see that we need to have the three stripes, and this piece has to be away from the three stripes, so it cannot be touching. In option A, if you see, it is touching exactly over here, the black part. So A has to be instantly discarded, because the black dot or the black square is touching the bar, but here is showing that the black square has to be away from the bar. So that's why A has to get discarded. Next we see over here, the dash line has to be in contact with the white line. But if you see here, this is opposite. The sharp point is in contact with the white line. We need the dashed line to be in contact with white, but here the sharp point is in contact with white, which means this is also not going to work. So finally we come to this one. With this one, if we see, we have to fold it upwards. So when we fold it upwards, we're going to get this and this on opposite faces, because if this is your base, let's say this is a base, then this is going to be the one wall that you will have, which means this piece is going to come to the top. So you have the top and the bottom of your cube as these two shapes, but here it is showing that they have to be side by side. So this is again going to have to be discarded. So final answer will be B. So if we have to recap, here we have this black square is touching the black bar. Here it should be away from that, so A is discarded. Next we have option C. If you see over here, this flat line is in contact with the white, but here sharp point is in contact with the white, so that's why option C is discarded. Finally option D, if I see the base as this one, which is the black square and the line, that is the base. Then I have one wall, which is this one, and then I have this, so that means this is the top. So it's saying top and the bottom of the cube are these two shapes, but here it is saying it I want it to be side by side, so that's why option D also has to be discarded, and the only option left is option B, which is the correct answer, where everything is proper. So if you see, this is away from that, etc. Now we go to question number 18.
B, sir.
Okay, so immediately we can see this shape over here. Black triangle has to meet the straight line. What do we see here? The white triangle is meeting these diagonal lines, so immediately we have to discard. Secondly, if we look at option C, the white triangle is not even making contact with this at all, So it should not even be making contact with the white triangle, it should be with the black triangle. But here it is making contact with the white triangle, which means this also is an instant discard. Here again, we have the black triangle making contact, but look which side. This point is not touching the black triangle, it's touching upside. So that means again not the correct shape as this, because this is showing straight line has to meet the black triangle. So where do we see that? Option B, straight line is meeting the black triangle. So option B is going to be the correct answer. So we move on to question number 19. You guys got the previous question.
C.
Okay, let us wait for another 15 to 20 seconds. Okay. Perfect. So multiple people have answered. Let us go and have a look. So first over here we see one thing is that the stick of this glass should be touching the moon. So is the stick of the glass touching the moon? No. The top part of the glass, as I'm calling it, but it looks like just a triangle with a line, is touching the moon. So option B has to be instantly discarded. Same thing over here, we see the side of the glass is touching the moon, but we need the stick of the glass to touch the moon. So this also has to be discarded. Next, if you see over here, let's consider the diamond part, the base. So this is one side of your cube, this is one side of the cube. So the diamond is the base, so these two are your sides. So your moon is never touching the triangle and a line, so they're completely separated. But if you see the question, moon and the triangle with a line should be touching each other and adjacent. So which is the one? This one. We see that it has the triangle and the line touching the end of the moon. So option C, correct answer. We go to question number 20.
A.
Okay.
Option A.
Let us wait for another 15 seconds for the rest of the people to catch up.
C.
Okay. Waiting for the last 10 seconds if anyone has to complete.
A.
So let's go ahead and solve this now. So if we see here, we see that the rectangle is there and this polygon which is there, the sharp point should be making contact with the rectangle. So in A, we see the sharp point is making contact, so this is good. But look at option D, the flat side is making contact with the rectangle. So this has to be instantly discarded because flat side is making contact, but question is showing the sharp point is making contact, which is what we see in option A. Next, when we come to this one, we see that the rectangle has to be standing on the black bar side. But here the rectangle is connected on the white piece. Black bar is over here. So this should have been over here, but it is connected to the white side. So no black bar is there between the rectangle and this zigzag line. So because of that, this has to be discarded because here we have a white line. There's no black solid bar between these two. So this has to be discarded. The rotation of this is wrong over here. So D is discarded because of this flat over here. It should be pointed as per the figure. Here we are discarding because this black bar is not there. Next we come to option A. So we see black bar is there and this thing is there connecting after the black bar, and the figure on the side, which is this piece, is joining at the sharp point. So this is all the correct pieces. So B, we see this is connecting completely opposite of this one. Here the flat piece is connecting after the black bar, but here it is showing flat piece has to connect on the white side. So this also is going to be wrong. So final answer A. If you guys have any questions or doubts, even with the previous questions, you can ask and I'll go ahead and explain those, but you guys are getting the correct answer.
B.
Okay, let's wait for another.
Given it's B.
Let's wait for another 20 seconds. We got multiple answers saying B. Let us verify that. Last 10 seconds for anyone else. Okay, let's go ahead and solve this. So immediately we see this important thing that the triangle or this sort of V shape, that is a opposite V shape, has to be meeting at the straight line. So let us see, we see that over here. Immediately we see straight line is not touching the pointy part of the this V shape kind of a thing. So this has to be discarded because line is not touching the pointy part. Pointy part is there. So this has to be discarded. Option D, we see again, line is over here, not touching the pointy part. So D also instantly discarded. If we see option C now, let me show you over the figure. Okay, so this is saying that the circle one is the base, then you have this as the back wall, and this is going to be the front wall. So this is the back and this is the front of the cube. So they can never meet each other over here, but here it is showing that they have to touch each other, which is why option C also has to be discarded. Final option left for us is option B, and if we confirm it, we see that the sharp point is connecting to the straight line and the black dot is connecting on the black side of this trapezium shape over here. So option B is correct. Now we go to question number 22. So we have one answer, C.
C. B.
Okay. So let's go ahead and solve this one. Looks like you guys have all got the correct answer. So if you look at option B first, this is saying that it's going to be putting this base of the triangles compared to the spiral, near the spiral. But here it is showing the pointy part of the triangle should be touching the spiral. So this has to be instantly discarded. Same over here. This is showing this main, the larger point side or the apex of these triangles going to the spiral. But here we need a side. So you need to even see which pointy part is going. Because if you see here, this is showing the side parts of the triangle have to be touching the spiral. Here it is showing the main side of the triangles touching the spiral. So this is discarded because of that. Here this is showing the base of the triangles touching the spiral. So this is discarded because of that. Here we see that we have it proper. So option C is a valid candidate to be the correct answer as of now. But let's look at option D. So we have this as the base. Then we will have this as the front wall. Okay. And then this as the back wall. So again, this is going to be flipped on that way. So when we flip it on, it's again going to be touching from over here. So let's just check it out. So this is going to be again going to be touching from here. So this is again wrong. Let us also verify that option C is correct in other ways. Yes, so otherwise it's fine. This is there and black dot is away from that. So that's good. So that is basically the thing that we need. Also, one more thing over here is these main dots, which are not main dots, main triangles have to be going into the side over here, which is not happening. So the side is left blank in this one because this will not work out over there. So we have to go with option C. Let's go to 23.
Option A.
A.
Okay, instantly we get an option A. Last 10 seconds to solve. Okay, so we can start discussing. So if we see over here, this is saying that we need this lightning bolt straight. When it is straight, it should be touching one of the pointy parts of one of the V shapes, and the other side should be touching from the side. But if we look at option B, both are touching from point and point part. So B has to be discarded. Secondly, if we see over here, we see that one side is with a point over here, but this side is touching with white space. White space is not supposed to be touching with the lightning bolt. So option D also has to be discarded. So next we have this option C. So when we fold option C, we will see that the part which is coming with the side piece is connecting with the, as if the lightning bolt is straight. But if you see, the part which is connecting from the side piece has to connect to the side way of the lightning bolt. But here the lightning bolt is straight and the connection is taking place, which is opposite. So the area where this lightning bolt is connecting, the side piece is connecting of this V shape, that time the lightning bolt has to be in the horizontal fashion, not straight lightning bolt. But here the lightning bolt is straight where the leg piece is connecting. So that is the difference why this has to also be eliminated. So the only option left is this one, where we see the sharp point is there, and when we fold this, it will also meet up correctly as per what is seen. So now we go to question number 24.
Option C.
Okay. Another 15 to 20 seconds.
Option C.
Okay. Last 10 seconds. Okay, so we can start discussing. So immediately we see that this piece which is there has to be connecting to a edge where this meets also. So the line of this square and line has to be touching one of the end points of this sort of zigzag shape. But here if you see, the square and line is touching into white space compared to the zigzag shape. So this will have to be eliminated. Same over here. Square and line is touching into white space, but here it is showing square and line has to be touching the end point of the zigzag line. So this also is discarded. This also is discarded because it's touching the white space. So hopefully these two discarding reasons are clear. Now we come to this one. Here if we see, this is saying square and line is there, and wherever the line is touching, that next side should be the point of this main sort of dark triangle and this white border for that. But if you see here, the area where this point is touching of the square and line, we see the side of the triangle connecting. So that is not shown here. We need the main point of the triangle connecting. So that is why option D is also discarded, because here the side is connecting to this point. But in option C, we see that square and line is connecting exactly to the end point of the zigzag. And when we fold this, because this will get folded like that, and then this will get folded as well, the point of this will be coming and connecting over here. So that is also correct. So the discardings are also clear why they are discarded. Here we have both of them touching into white space, but here it's touching the end point. And here we see that the square and line has to be wherever the line is there, that is where the main peak of this triangle has to be there, but here the side peak is touched. So we can eliminate D as well. So final option C. Now we go to 25.
Option A.
So we have one person saying option A, for 25. Let us wait for more answers. Last 15 seconds. Okay, so we have two people saying A, which is incorrect. So maybe I'll have to draw this one out. Let me try if it's possible for me to draw. Where's this load? Yeah, D is the correct answer, but I'll explain how. So first, before we eliminate A and D, let us look at the obvious mistakes which are there. So this is saying that the triangle has to be connected to the sharp point, and at the same time, this piece which is there, the branch piece, has to be connecting with this diagonal piece to the diamond. So if you see here, the square piece is connecting the diamond. Here the square piece is connecting the diamond, but we need the other like slanting piece to connect the diamond piece. So because of this, we have to discard this guy. Next we come to this one. If we see here, the black triangle is connected to the straight or the rectangular piece of the branch that we are calling over here. But if you see here, the black triangle has to be connected to the other piece of the black piece right here. And it has to be connected in such a way that it's from the side, but it's never going to be the straight piece, because straight piece is all the way opposite to wherever the black triangle and the line is. So straight piece is there, but here they're showing that the straight piece is touching, which is why B also has to be discarded. So now we are left with option A and option D. So let us look at option A first. So we have the base over here, which is the top piece. Then we have a line over here. So this is going to be coming upwards. So that means this is going to look something like this. And then this is going to be like this and like this. And then here at the top is the diamond. Let me just make this the same blue shape, because if I draw the diamond, then other stuff will not be seen. So this is the blue one. And then this is saying we have a dummy one. So let's draw the dummy in green. So the dummy has to come touching this. So this is going to be the dummy one. And then to the side of the dummy is going to be the cup, and not the cup, the triangle and the line. So this guy is touching the green one. So that means this is going to come over here, the triangle and the line. So when I deconstruct it this way, you can see that the triangle and the line is opposite on the side of the sort of line and the angle. But here it is showing in the question that they have to be touching each other. But if you see, if I draw what they have drawn over here in terms of the flattened image, they are coming on opposite sides. So that is why we have to also discard this, because it's coming on opposite sides. So only option left is this one, which is option D. So if we verify that now, we first see that the diamond is touching the cup correctly. See the same thing over here. And now we need to start folding. So when I fold this over here, we can consider maybe this one as the base structure. So this is the base. So this will come. Let me just fix this first. Don't want a ruler. So let us draw the base over here. Then we'll have this one coming on the side. I need to draw the base slightly angled. So that is the side piece, this is the base. So the side piece is touching the base on the bottom side, so it has to go like this and then upwards. So that is how that piece is going to go. Here we have on the front the diamond. Let's keep the diamond in green. So diamond is going to connect over here on the front side, and then on top of the diamond is the, so this is the diamond over here, and then on top of the diamond is the in yellow we can draw is this triangle and line. So this is where the triangle and line is going to come, the yellow one, which I'll not draw because otherwise you'll not be able to see the other stuff, but you can see the color. So if we see over here, compared to the main question, that the triangle, the diamond is over here, and which piece of this line is touching the diamond? The long piece. Is that the same as the question? Yes, the long piece has to be touching the diamond, which is what we see over here. The long piece is touching the diamond, so that means this is the correct answer. So that's why we can say 25 is going to be D. That's the logical reasoning. Now open back the PDF to question 26. So get some kind of a locating feature. If there's a straight line, is it touching the point? Is it touching the side? That can help you discard some options. Okay, we have one answer as A. Last 15 seconds. Okay, let us begin solving. So immediately we see we have a locating feature which is saying this straight line has to be touching the white triangle top. So any options where it is not touching the white triangle top we can discard. Here it is touching the black side, so immediately option B gets discarded. Next we come to the lightning bolt and the black line. So lightning bolt has to be going into the black line. Here we see the lightning bolt is going into the black line, so option A is safe for now. But option C, if you see, lightning bolt is going into the white triangle, so option C has to also be discarded immediately. So B is discarded because the black line is going into the black rectangle and the line is going into the black rectangle, so this has to be discarded. Here it has to go to the white triangle top, and here the lightning bolt is going into the white side, but here it is showing lightning bolt has to be touching the black rectangle, so because of that this also has to be discarded. Next, if we see the lightning bolt also, if I zoom in, has two sides, one is thin and one is fat. So which side is touching the black rectangle is the question. If we see here, we see the fat side of the lightning bolt is touching the black rectangle, and option A, the thin side is touching the black rectangle. So according to the question, we see thin side has to be touching the black rectangle, which means option D has to be discarded and option A will be the correct answer. So just to recap why B and C are discarded. So B, the problem is we need to have it, this line has to be touching the white tip of this triangle over here, but here the line is going into the black rectangle, so this has to be discarded because of that. Option C, wherever this lightning bolt is coming, it should be matching up with a black rectangle, but here the lightning bolt is matching up with a white triangle, so that's why option C is discarded. And finally, if you zoom in, you'll see that the lightning bolt also has a fat side and a thin side, and this is saying the thin side has to be in contact with the black rectangle, but if you see option D, the fat side is in contact with the black rectangle, so this also has to be discarded. Only option left is option A, which is the correct answer. So we're coming towards the end, 27th question right now.
B.
Okay, we have one answer is B. So you have to try and find some locating features. What is the question telling you? Is the same thing seen in the correct answer? Or if it's not seen, immediately we can discard those. So last 15 seconds to solve question number 27. Okay, looks like we can begin. So immediately we see some very immediate stuff, which is the circle has to be touching the white side. Here circle is touching the black side. Immediately A discarded. Same thing C, circle is touching the black side. Immediately C discarded. So now we have two options left, which is B and D. So now the question is, B and D are looking almost the same. The only difference is the direction of the moon. So we need to see over here, when folded, is the moon sort of fitting into the black circle, or is it pointing away from the black circle? So if we see the question, the moon is facing towards the black circle. The crescent part of the moon is facing towards the black circle. So we need to see which one of those is matching up over here. So immediately we have this, and now we need to see that if this is the base, this part is the base of both. So when I open up this flap over here on the side, this is the black circle, and from this side, if when I pull it up, is going to be the moon. So this one is saying that this is the circle over here. Circle is same on both sides over here, and this is the moon. So if I keep my hand like the moon shape as seen, it is going to be like this, because if you see this C shape is like this. So this is my hand shape, which is the moon, and this is the circle. So when this comes up, this is option B, and if you see the moon curvature part is facing towards the circle, which is over here. But if you see D, the moon is this side. So when this comes up, the moon shape is going to be like this, and circle is over here. So the moon is facing away, and this black circle is over here. So that's why option D is discarded, because the moon is facing the wrong side. But B, the moon is facing towards the circle, which is what is shown in the question as well. So because of that, D is discarded. C is discarded because the circle is touching the black bar, and also circle is touching the black bar. So this also is, A is also discarded. So correct answer B. Let's go to question number 28.
B.
Okay, we have one answer as B.
C.
C.
Yeah, C.
Option C.
Okay, so everyone has come up with option C. Let us have a look at it. So here, when we see the first thing, this is saying that the block which is over here and this block have to be away from each other. But if you see here, this block is coming or touching this block with the black side. But here, if you see, we need this gap over here. So double wide gap is required, but here only there's a single wide gap. So that's why D has to be discarded. Same thing over here. We have a double wide gap. See, here you see one gap and here you see one gap of white. Here there's only one gap of white, no double wide gap. So B also has to be discarded. Same thing with A. Look at the wide gap, only one wide gap. Question is saying it treats double wide gap. One wide gap here from this piece, one wide gap from this piece. So double wide gap is again missing in option A. Only one which has double wide gap is option C. Gap number 1, gap number 2. So C is the correct answer. So this double wide gap is what we are checking on this one. Hope that is understood and you guys got the correct answer. So those who got the wrong answer, you have to check this double wide gap. Here there's only one gap between the two pieces. Here there's only one gap between the two pieces. Here there's only one gap between the two pieces. But here we have the double wide gap, which is what is shown over here. So now we can go to question number 29. So we have a triangle, we have a black and white, and then that V shape but rotated.
A.
Okay, we have two people saying A. Let us wait for another 15 seconds for others to catch up. Okay, looks like we can start solving. So immediately we see over here, we need the black side to be touching the diamond. So if any of them are touching from white side or even half, we can discard. So here half is touching the black diamond, D discarded. Half is touching the black diamond, C discarded. Here black is touching, here black is touching. So these two are valid. So C and D is now discarded. So I can zoom in only on A and B. Okay, so this is what we have now. So now the next question is, which side does the thing have to come in? So if we consider this as the base, because here we have this as the base and these are the flaps. So when this comes rotated this way, we have to make sure that this piece, which is there, the midline has to be touching the white space. Okay, so this is the flat black diamond and then this is the piece which are bringing up, which is the black and white. So this is the black and white here and the base is the black diamond. So the line is coming like this, the side line, and this piece when I bring it up, which is this what do you call this, the V shape, the white space is over here. So this is the white space now over here, the white triangle, and that line is coming from over here, which is exactly what we see in the question. The V-shape white space has to be meeting with the dividing line. So this piece when I bring it up, the dividing line is exactly in the middle and that is going into the white space as seen over there. So because of that, that is going to be the question answer. And let's see at B what happens. Same base is there. This time the white dividing line is on this side. So we put the white dividing line over here, which means we have a line over here. So this line, if I bring this flap up, the flap is showing me that the pointed side is over here. So point side of this is meeting up with the line. Let us check the question. Is the point side supposed to meet the line? No. Point side is not supposed to meet the line. This back part is supposed to meet the line, which is why B is discarded, because this point side is going to meet the line. But here the line is going to meet the back part, which is what is shown in the question. So that's why 29A is the correct answer. Let us go to question number 30.
D.
Let's wait for another 15 seconds. Okay.
Option D.
So one thing that we see is that the rectangle that we have should be touching the white moon shape. Here the rectangle is touching the black moon, so A instantly discarded. Over here, rectangle is going to be on this side, moon is going to be on this side, which means they are on opposite sides of the cube. They can never meet each other. So because of that, B is discarded, because here we see the rectangle and the moon shape should meet. So that's because of that, B is discarded. Option C, if we see, the rectangle is facing flat, but we need the length of the rectangle to be coming in contact with the moon, and also it is touching the joining point of the moons. We need it to be touching the white moon properly. So C also is discarded because of that. Here we see correct, the black rectangle is touching the white moon and the rest are all eliminated. So this is the correct answer. So hopefully this is clear. Now if I can summarize some of the rules that we followed. What we did is we always first checked out for some sort of feature that is immediately seen everywhere. So if you see a line or a circle or something like that, or even this sort of V shape, check out, is the line which is shown in the question touching the V shape, is it happening over here? If you see the V shape point is not touching the line, so this is instantly discarded. Again over here, this is your base. This front piece is going to be 1, the back piece is going to be 1. So opposite sides of a cube can never touch each other. So again, C has to be discarded because of that. And again over here, if you see, this sharp point has to be touching the line. But here the sharp point is not touching the line, the side is touching the line. So D is discarded because of that. C is discarded because they are on opposite sides, they can never touch. And A is discarded because the sharp point is not touching the line. So within 5 seconds you can solve this question if you get a question like this where the line is shown and something like that. So you need to find that. So in this case it was the line and the point. In this case it is how this diamond is connected, or this hexagon is connected to this. It has to be connected from the sharp side, but if you see here it is connected from the flat side, so this becomes instantly discarded. So you need to check out if any of those are taking place. And then for some questions like the moon question which we had over here, I think it was this one, you need to check by first discarding all which are not possible. So immediately we see that the moon, the black circle has to be touching a white line. Black circle is touching the white line. Here it is touching black, so A is discarded. Here it is touching black, so C is discarded. So only 2 options left, B and D. So here is where you can open up and the flaps and check. So when the moon comes up this way, it is going to be facing this way in option B. So the moon is facing this way and the circle is over here. So the moon is facing away from the circle. So D is discarded. And in option B, the moon is facing this way when it comes up. So it is like this right now. When it comes up, it will become like this. And the ball is over here. When it comes up, it will become like this. So the moon is facing the ball. So that's why option B is the correct answer. So that ends this specific session on these sort of views, but at the same time it's sort of like origami. So you have to be able to fold a 3D shape into, fold a 2D shape into a 3D box, or you have to open up a 3D cube into a unfolded 2D shape. So that's the basic logic or the main task of this specific part of the aptitude. Yeah, thanks a lot, Amston, for joining. Hope you enjoyed the session and also learned something. You'll have to definitely practice this to identify as fast as possible some feature. Okay, so line is there, circle is there. How is the line connected? Is the pointy part of the line connected to the circle, or is it the side part? So if you can get one of those, and if the many are getting discarded, like 3 are discarded, directly you get your answer. You can just confirm it and tick mark and carry forward. So bye guys, let me know if you have any questions right now. Any questions on any of the question numbers you can ask and we can clear it out.
When we are going to have that late session that I heard you ask.
Yeah, so we are going to be having that late session. The only thing is I'm trying to get a proper app, because otherwise right now I have an app. So the idea is when I'm taking the late session, I should be able to move all of the things of the late on the computer. But right now every 10 seconds, like, it's putting a massive ad. So I'm trying to check if I can get the paid version, since it's just like 200 rupees or something. So that will get rid of all of the ads, because otherwise it'll get really boring if there's like 50 ads, in the whole explanation. So that's the only thing I'm trying to work out, or maybe there's a better app. I'm checking for that. So that is currently in the works, the late session. So because a lot of questions, even in my fleet management sponsorship, they ask regarding the lathe machine. So the chuck, self-centering chuck or not self-centering chuck, lead screw, surface finishes, all of that stuff came for my fleet management thing. Plus it has been asked in IMS Go as well. So that is going to be very important from the workshop technology side of things. So that will be covered. Plus apart from that is also the psychometric test. So all of the different psychometric tests and what they're trying to check, that as well we will cover shortly. So that's the thing for now. Bye.